morning, everyone. I'm going to Canada's Wonderland today, so I'm getting my video out a little bit early. So there's so much happening and so much going on, and with me only doing one video, I feel like I've got to get it in early, right? So CBC News is reporting, quote, Trudeau cabinet approves Trans Mountain expansion project. Again, because they did before, right? The cabinet approved it, and then the Federal Court of Appeals quashed it because they didn't follow their own rules. Remember 2018? Yeah. Maybe you don't, but we're going to look at it. So anyway, here we go. Trudeau cabinet approves Trans Mountain expansion project. Federal officials say construction of the $7.4 billion pipeline is likely to begin in 2019. Likely. Maybe. Probably. Maybe. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet have again approved the Trans Mountain expansion project, a crucial next step for the much-delayed pipeline project designed to carry nearly 1 million barrels of oil from Alberta's oil patch to the BC coast each day. The cabinet has affirmed the National Energy Board's conclusion that while the pipeline has the potential to damage the environment and marine life, it is in the national interest and could contribute tens of billions of dollars to government coffers and create and sustain thousands of jobs. Beyond approving the project, Trudeau also committed to directing every single dollar of the federal government earns from the pipeline, which when it's built is estimated to be some $500 million a year in federal corporate tax revenue alone, to investments in unspecified clean energy projects. I scroll down. Trudeau said building the project, which will help deliver Canadian oil to Tidewater for shipment to lucrative markets in Asia, will ensure Canada is not dependent on selling its natural resources to one customer, the United States. I'm going to pause here. The Trudeau government is pushing forward with Bill C-48, which is the tanker ban on the BC coast. And basically, they've set up a situation where Bill C-69 hamstrings the process of building a pipeline. Every man and his dog, whether you have a financial interest or land interest or whatever, is able to appeal the pipeline or have a seat at the table, creating a potentially endless list of people you need to satisfy in order to get your pipeline built. And if you manage to get the pipeline built through the new regulations created by Bill C-69 that the Liberals weren't able to do last time, then if you manage it and get your oil to Tidewater, there's a tanker ban. You can't pick up the oil here. This is Canada, sir. We only allow Saudi tankers in Quebec ports. Thank you very much. Right? No, you can't hamstring the industry, completely prevent the industry from bringing their product to market, and then say, look what we've done. We're going to have shovels in the ground. No, I don't believe you. You have run out of time. Your incompetence has manifested in complete inaction on a pipeline that was ready to go when you took over. It's very, very, very poor. It's very badly managed. It looks bad on your government. And this announcement doesn't fix that. It doesn't fix that because the proof is in the pudding. We'll see if the construction even begins in this crown company, right? We'll see, because even this article notes that there's still hurdles that the company needs to cross before it can begin construction. Back to the article. As we've seen over the past few years, anything can happen with our neighbors to the south, Trudeau said. Right now, we're prisoners to the American market. The federal Liberal government said Tuesday it will soon begin the process of meeting with Indigenous groups who are interested in buying the project, and it is open to selling as much as 100% of its stake to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit investors. Ottawa has said it does not want to own the project long term. Work could start this year. A senior government official speaking on background to reporters ahead of the official announcement said that while there are still a number of permits and regulatory hurdles facing the controversial project, the government expects construction work to start sometime this year. Can you imagine if the government was excluding anyone from purchasing something like this? This is a government asset purchased with taxpayer dollars. Why is First Nations the only groups who are listed here as being able to purchase this pipeline? I don't understand what the purpose of that is. We are not allowed, racism is saying you get X because you are of a specific race, or you don't get X because you are of a specific race. And people have been screaming about equality, 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 and I have no problem with equality. Everybody should have the opportunity to try, the opportunity to do something. If you have enough money to purchase this pipeline, then you should be able to purchase the pipeline. It shouldn't matter if you're Métis or First Nation or Inuit or anything to that effect, right? And within the Métis, First Nation, and Inuit community investors, are there a bunch of small investors who are going to pool their resources to buy the $4.5 billion Canadian dollar pipeline? Is that what's going to happen? Or how exactly are we planning on selling that to just First Nations and Métis investors? What is the plan here? And why mention that? I think that's very strange. What is this because it goes through their land? Is this The only reason because it goes through their land and they get, and does it only go through their land? Like, these are questions that I genuinely have. Why is it okay to be casually exclude anybody but these groups from purchasing this Canadian purchased, taxpayer purchased pipeline? Why is that? That's weird, right? That seems strange. Everybody should have the opportunity. It shouldn't depend on your race. It shouldn't depend on who you were born to. Welcome to Canada, right? But apparently, in Trudeau's Canada. Here's Trudeau announcing shovels in the ground. Hold on a second here.
Today, I am announcing that our government has newly approved the Trans Mountain Expansion Project going forward. The company plans to have shovels in the ground this construction season. We've also been listening carefully to Canadians and hearing about their desire for a cleaner future. That's why we've decided that every dollar the federal government earns from this project will be invested in Canada's clean energy transition. Additional corporate tax revenue alone could be around $500 million per year once the project is up and running.
So, interesting, but here's from 2018, July. It's a Edmonton Journal reporting, quote, Trans Mountain Project sees shovels in the ground, finally, sort of. And this is a Premier Notley article, but doesn't really matter. I just wanted to show you that they've been trying and failing because they're not following their own guidelines. Here is a 2018 article, dated August 30th, says Federal Court quashes Trans Mountain expansion, Ottawa forging ahead with purchase. Yes, the Federal Court of Appeals has overturned Ottawa's approval of the contentious Trans Mountain pipeline expansion, but Finance Minister Bill Morneau is pledging to push ahead with his government's purchase of the project. In a unanimous decision by the panel of 3 judges, the court says the National Energy Board's review of the proposal was so flawed that the federal government could not rely on it as a basis for its decision to approve the expansion. Here's the Trans Mountain Pipeline Court decision, a real sad day for Albertans. And here's the executive summary of the Federal Court of Appeal. And I just wanted to show you this part here. This is within this, and the PDF's in the description. You can have a read for yourself if you like, but it says the government of Canada was required to engage in a considered, meaningful two-way dialogue. However, for the most part, Canada's representatives limited their mandate to listening and to recording the concerns of the Indigenous applicants and then transmitting those concerns to the decision makers. On the whole, the record does not disclose responsive, considered, and meaningful dialogue coming back from Canada in response to the concerns expressed by the Indigenous applicants. The law requires Canada to do more than receive and record concerns and complaints. Right, so they didn't do what they said they were going to do, and instead played lip service to it and got called out for it. And now they're saying it's in the national good, so we're going to do it. Which is what Bernier said he would do. He would invoke the Constitution and say it's for public or the national interest and force the pipeline through using the Constitution. But I find it interesting that Trudeau's pushing this through now. Period. I mean, 4 months before an election. And looking at the polls, the way he's looking at the polls and watching the Liberals leave the way I'm watching Liberals leave, it looks like their internal polls are looking worse than the polls we get to see. So that's interesting. And I've got to tell you, I'm out door knocking, and pretty much everybody I've spoken to says, well, we can't vote Liberal. Yeah. And I'm not even prompting them for that. I'm like, how do you feel about Justin Trudeau? I'm not even saying that. They a lot of the time will say, well, those Liberals. Yeah. Yep. Can't get anything right. Okay. This I found interesting. I've been talking about bad winners, and the Toronto Raptors and Toronto just seem really like poor winners of this championship. Poor examples to set, and the city as well. And I just find this reaction to the parade strange. CTV News is reporting, quote, despite shootings and massive delays, City of Toronto says operations at Toronto Raptors parade went extremely well. Well, I think the word extremely maybe could have been omitted, right? Went well, maybe. Not extremely well. 4 people got shot. Extremely well. Forget about those shootings, right? Raptors, we the North, rah! Right? Ridiculous. This is yesterday. This is June 18th, yesterday evening. Despite a shooting that left 4 people injured and massive delays that left thousands of commuters stranded in the downtown core, the city of Toronto is pleased with how operations at the Toronto Raptors victory parade and rally went on Monday. Quote, given the time to pull this together, working with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and our partners in police and paramedics in transit, it went extremely well. The shooting aside, there's no place for shooting, of course, or guns in this city ever, but overall, I think it went very, very well. A spokesperson for the city, Brad Ross, said on Tuesday morning. Brad, you could have not said extremely well. Very well, very, very well. 2 varies for a shooting, 1 vary for each victim, or for each 2 victims. I don't know. I think that Toronto can do better. I know that Toronto has done better in the past. This isn't how you celebrate winning. This isn't strength in diversity, and a gun ban's not going to solve this problem. It's very, very concerning. 6 men charged after downtown Toronto shooting following NBA Finals celebration. I'm not going to go through this. I just wanted you to have the link at your fingertips to read it, because this is real. This is happening. And acid attacks are happening as well, but I don't want to get derailed. I want to stay focused. But shootings in Toronto have been happening for at least a year. It's been started with playground shootings at the end of, or mid 2018, from what I remember, right after Mr. Faisal shot up the Danforth. Remember? Do you remember all of this stuff? Do you feel safer under a Trudeau Liberal government? This is unbelievable. And do you know how they're going to fix it? Do you know how they're going to solve this problem? Global News is reporting, quote, Blair recommends ban on assault-style firearms, letting cities enact extra rules. This is June 18th, 10:52 a.m. This is yesterday morning, right? Unbelievable. So I'm not going to go through how they want to ban assault-style rifles, because I think just the headline talks about enough to get the point that I'm trying to make. I could spend 10 minutes going through this, but it's not going to clarify it more than it already is. Criminals don't care about the law. People who are sport shooting, hunting, etc., 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 do, and those are the people who are being affected by these assault-style firearms bans. The criminals are getting the guns from people who are trafficking the guns up through the border, right? This isn't unknown. This isn't a mystery, and this reaction isn't going to reduce gun violence anywhere. Maybe hunting gun violence, because people aren't going to be able to get their license to go hunting anymore, because, gang violence is really, really scary. Crazy. The last thing I will leave you with today, I'll be at this event on Friday, and that'll be interesting, so that'll be fun. Maxime Bernier is tweeting out, quote, we sent a media advisory for a campaign event in Toronto this Friday, and we got this answer from a Globe and Mail, quote, journalist. This is the state of journalism in 2019, and this is a screenshot of the email that says Maxime Bernier to announce Toronto area People's Party of Canada candidates on Friday, June 21st. And this is CC'd. And this is from Denise Balkasoon, and she says, gross. Gross. Denise, you're kind of gross. Gross. That response is kind of gross. You should be more mature, in my opinion. You're representing the Globe and Mail, after all, right? Isn't that a paper of note or record or something to that effect? A lot of businessmen I know read that. I used to read that until they started just printing liberal propaganda blatantly. So that's gross too. So anyway, interesting to note how supposedly educated people are responding to a populist party that just wants to spend Canadian taxpayer money in Canada and have secure borders and immigration that it has checks and balances and not an overwhelmed system. Sane leadership and governance. Somebody able to point to a shooting in Toronto during a celebration and say, yeah, that's inappropriate. That's not okay. That's not okay. Not at all. That's not okay. That's not excellent. That's not extremely well. That's pretty poor, as is the leadership in Ottawa currently. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and I'm definitely not going to go on the biggest roller coaster. I saw the new one. Holy cow, that looks terrifying. We're going to Snoopy Land. We're going to Snoopy Land, and I'm excited about Nightmares, the green one. You know, the green one that goes. That's going to be super fun. That's the extent of my ride fear factor, or my ability to go on the big rides right now. I used to like roller coasters, and somewhere in the last year and a half, not so much. Okay, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, everybody.